Welcome to We Who Are Dark,
a conversation in history and humanities. I'm Dr. Neil Vaz.
And I'm Trent Tomengo. All right, welcome to this conversation that Dr. Vaz and I'm going to have. I am Trent Tomengo, a humanities scholar and an artist.
I'm Neil Vaz. I am a historian of African history, African diaspora, and African American history.
So why are we here? Why are we doing this podcast? I can tell you my reasons for doing this podcast.
What are your reasons?
All right. We're living in a culture right now here in this country where people say they're anti-woke. And it's like, we got a lot of people that just want to stay asleep and they don't want to face the truth. But we know that there are a lot of people that want the truth. This podcast is for those people, from my standpoint.
Same here. I got the word recently that where I was teaching was going to cancel my African American history class. So I called up Trent Tomengo, my former professor, and said, what are we going to do about this? They canceled his class, they canceled my class. So I said, we both said, let's start a podcast or a school or something. And we decided to take matters in our own hands, and this is where we are now.
Right. And even though, we have huge aspirations for this to turn into more than a podcast, we need to at least start getting information out, because other than our teaching, you couldn't get this information even in public schools. Some of it you get Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, but that's about the extent of what our kids got in public school. and I remember, when I started teaching, I kept hearing people say, well, man, why is it that we have to wait to college to get this? And so now you can't even get it in Florida colleges. And so this is why, I wanted to do this podcast with you,
It's crazy.
I also want everybody to know our story, because it goes to the point of why the information is important.
Yeah.
Now, I met you, I think you were in your early 20s?
Yeah, I was 20, exactly.
You was 20 years old. I think I was like 30-something because I just started teaching.
And you were 37.
Okay, 37. You even remember that, right? Wow. All right. Well, you are the historian.
That was the summer of 2004. I was taking psychology at Seminole State College. Back then it was Seminole Community College. Yeah. And then I took African American Humanities, 6-week course. Mm-hmm. And I used to come from work. I was working at Publix at the time. I used to sometimes come.
I remember that.
I used to come to the class in my Publix uniform.
I remember that.
And I used to sit in and listen to the lecture. And from the first day, one of the first things that you said, I remember, was that Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves.
Right.
And I was like, man, get out of here, man. Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves. What are you talking about, man? That's why he's on the penny faced the other way, and the penny's brown and all the other pennies are silver, because he betrayed the white man. I was like, nah. But when you end up having us read this article, and I was like, wow.
I think the article was Lincoln's, what was it? I can't remember exactly what the writing was. Yeah. But in the writings, he said that if I could free no slaves and save the Union, I would free no slaves.
Exactly. Yep.
And if I could free all of the slaves and save the Union, I would free all of the slaves.
And that was the first time ever in my life I've heard that Lincoln's main objective was to save the Union and not free the slaves.
And not free slaves.
And just hearing that at 20 years old just opened up my mind to a whole new world.
So I want you to talk about what the class did for you as a young black male. I mean, and talk about it in real terms, because the information that we're putting in this podcast, this is essentially the same information that transformed your way of thinking at the time. So talk a little bit about that.
So absolutely. So first, let me say this. I went through Seminole County Public Schools here in Central Florida. I never had a black male as an academic teacher all throughout school. I had a black male PE coach in 8th grade, but I never had a black male academic teacher. The first time I had that experience was Dr. Wright. The semester I took before I took your class, I had Dr. Wright for English.
Yeah, that's Stephen Caldwell Wright.
Yes,
yeah.
Stephen Caldwell Wright. He told me to do a paper on Malcolm X when I was going to do a paper on Tupac. He was like, I went to his office, he was like, what is this Tupac nonsense you're doing? That was when Tupac was just another rapper. Like
right.
now they teach college courses on him, but at the time,
right.
It was just another rapper. So he's like, he sends me to his office. He's like, why don't you, he's like, I got this tape here. Go listen to this and write a paper on this tape. And it was Malcolm X, Message to the Grassroots.
To the Grassroots.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hit me with that too.
Yeah. So we're both students of him.
Right.
And so I ended up going and I put it in my little tape player, my little 1990 Honda Accord on my way home. I remember I stopped at Wendy's. And when I was at Wendy's, in the drive-thru, Malcolm X was talking about.
So once we all realize that we have this common enemy, then we unite on the basis of what we have in common. And what we have foremost in common is that enemy, the white man. He's an enemy to all of us. I know some of you all think that some of them aren't enemies. Time will tell.
Oh, we're talking about the white man and all this stuff, and I'm just like, geez, maybe I should turn this down and pull over to the side before I let these white folks spit my food. So, listening to Malcolm X in that class, a few months later, taking your class, what it did for me is it was the first time I can see someone that looked like me at the head of a classroom teaching me information that actually reflects who my people are and who my ancestors are. Right.
And I'll say this, I remember you coming to me at the end of that semester and you said, hey, Professor Tomengo, can we stay in touch? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, young blood, we can stay in touch. And not only did we stay in touch, but you checked in with me every step of your academic career.
Absolutely.
Where did you do your undergrad?
I left Seminole and I went to Florida State University. And then after that, I took a couple of years off. Then I went to Howard University to get my master's.
And it was at Howard
Yeah.
that I found out you was getting your doctorate.
Yes.
And you said, I'm writing a dedication to you in my dissertation. And I'm like, wow, and I knew that we had a kind of a mentor-mentee relationship, mm-hmm. but I didn't realize how deep that was until you told me that.
Absolutely.
Because that was big. And all of this now is coming from the kind of information that we're going to be given in this podcast. Yeah. And you are one of many from my own experience. And I'm certain now that you've been teaching for a while, you have students that are the U's for me, right? But I have had so many black male students in particular who didn't really, have a sense of themselves, kind of in this whole continuum we call history. Yeah. And if you don't have an understanding of yourself, of your psychology, of your people, you kind of don't have a purpose. Yeah. 100%. And these guys were able to have like purpose with this information, which is why, we want to do this podcast.
Yeah. And the semester that I took your class, I was inspired after that. Like I used to hate to read, honestly. And after taking your course, I was like, man, I want to go start buying some books. And I remember I went to Books A Million, I think it was at the time, and I bought a bunch of like books on the diaspora. I bought the Africana, W.B. Du Bois, his version of the encyclopedia. I bought a book on the Black Panthers. I bought a book on the destruction of the black boy, and I bought a Malcolm X Speaks book. And these 4 books, man, my mom was so proud. Every time my mom saw me reading these books, she was like, and then she was also proud every time I went to your office after class to hang out with you. Yeah, she would call me and she'd be like, where are you at? And I'd be like, oh, I'm with my professor. She's like, okay, I'll let you go. She was just happy to know that I was always
and then now you end up getting your doctorate.
Yeah.
You know, I never went to that level. So, you know, I often tell people, man, I have a student who outstripped me, right?
No.
And what I like about you, though, is that even though you have your doctorate and I don't have mine, you always defer to me. You know, you always call me Mr. Tomengo, Mr. Tomengo. There's always a mutual respect there.
Absolutely.
And I like that part. So this podcast then is going to be giving information that is transformative. We're not hampered by the state saying we can't teach in state colleges. We're not hampered by that. We have a platform. We both have our scholarship. We have our research. And so we're going to just give it away for free now. Mm-hmm. The theoretical framework for this podcast is going to be based on this book by Richard J. Powell called Black Art. It's the best treatment of Black creativity that I've seen, and it's thematic. So we're going to be pulling from this for the podcast episodes and just adding information to it so that you can get the information that you normally would not have gotten. Mm-hmm. That you won't get if you take a get education in a public Florida college. You will not get this information, but you can get it here on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Right? So now that you know the theoretical framework, what I want us to do now is to talk about what we're going to do the next time. Okay. Right? Now, I think that the way this introduction to this book starts out with trying to giving information about trying to understand how we get this name Black people. Yeah. In America. We call ourselves Black. That name has changed, right? In the 20s, it was Negro. Mm-hmm. In the 60s, it was colored. Yeah. In the 70s, it was Afro-American. Yeah. In the 80s, it became African-American. Sometime around there, I think 60s, it became Black, but then Black. Not everybody even calls themselves by the Black, most because of Malcolm X, right? And his definition of Black. But we're not going to be going on Malcolm X's definition of Black. Yeah. We're talking about the people themselves. How do we get Black people? That's what we're going to be discussing in the next podcast.
The next podcast.
And I want to do this with the idea that race, and I want you to speak on this real quickly. Mm-hmm. Race is not a biological construct. It is a socio-political economic construct. Absolutely. Right? And that's what we're going to be diving into the next time. Yeah. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes. We'll be diving into that because you'll see it's very complicated. There's a lot of nuances when it comes to race. And even when you look at how a country like Cuba or Jamaica or Brazil treats race, they treat it very differently than we do here in the United States. So I think it's very important that we hash out these definitions and understand what they really mean and why they even came about in the first place.
All right. So we hope that, this is going to be interesting enough to make you come back and listen to more. Please leave your comments,
Yeah, comment, like, subscribe, and
All right. Thank you for your time.